Welcome to News9 Mediaverse, and you are watching a special edition on Gyanvapi ASI report. Yes, the ASI report has stated very clearly that a temple existed at the site. Now, the larger issues is, can further litigation be avoided? Shouldn't the other party hand over the place to Hindus? Will this lead to repeal of Places of Worship Act of 1991? There are a lot of issues around it, but the most basic issue which I am trying to raise is now the clear-cut evidence points to one thing. Yes, in medieval India, a lot of Hindu places of worship were vandalized and destroyed. So the Gyanvapi report is saying 34 evidences of temple found at the Gyanvapi site. 34. Let's go further. Western wall of the mosque is the remaining section of pre-existing temple. ASI Gyanvapi report. Pillars from the temple discovered in eastern cellar of the mosque. Pillars with bells and an inscription from Sambat 1669 reused in the cellar. Inscription in Devanagari, Telugu, Granth and Kannada scripts found. A south connect. Pillars and pilaster of the temple repurposed for mosque. Inscription found dating construction of mosque to 1676-77 during the reign of Aurangzeb. Sculptures of Hindu deities found in the cellars. Names of Hindu incarnations, Janardhan, Rudra and Omeshwar found. Architectural design of the Hindus remain with the molding depicting Kamarath and Pratiratha symbols. An Arabic Persian inscription records destruction of the temple in 17th century, which is 400 years ago. It's not a archaic date. So the larger debate here is, these are Janam Bhumis. One. Second, if the temples have been destroyed and local communities want to reclaim it, can you have a legislation? How can the mosque be handed back to the Hindu side without time-consuming litigation? That's number one. And second, has time come to amend or repeal Places of Worship Act? Two questions. In studio, I'm joined by Ashok Bagaria, my legal editor. I'll be joined by Paul Khera, activist and one of the petitioners of Gyanvapi. And subsequently later, Harishankar Jain, senior advocate in Gyanvapi, was also part of the fifth seat, Lamrala Virajman. But before that, let me play out a couple of reactions.
The presence of rectangular gravel-filled passage akin to a side opening, doors towards the south, is observed at a depth of 46 m at the basement level in south corridor. A similar opening at the shallower level down to 3 m is observed in the north corridor, north of the north hall and west of the cellar. Rows of 3 to -4 m wide cellars are observed adjacent to the corridor area, and 2 m wide well is concealed in cellar S1. इसका हिंदी अनुवाद यह है कि एसआई को अपने जीपीआर सर्वे में जो 6 पॉइंट उन्होंने उसमें लिखा है, उसमें उन्होंने लिखा है कि रो 3-4 m में जो वाइड सेलार्स हैं, उसमें कॉरिडोर के बगल में एक चौड़ा कुआं, एक वेल होता हुआ जीपीआर सर्वे में उनको दिखा है. अब प्री एग्जिस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर पे एसआई ने डिटेल फाइंडिंग दी है, वो मैं आपको पढ़ के बता रहा हूँ. बेस्ड ऑन दी साइंटिफिक स्टडीज एंड ऑब्जर्वेशंस ऑन दी सेंट्रल चेंबर एंड मेन एंट्रेंस ऑफ द प्री एग्जिस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर इन एग्जिस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर, मतलब ऐसा ये कह रहा है कि सेंट्रल चेंबर और मेन एंट्रेंस ऑफ द प्री एग्जिस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर में एक एग्जिस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर है. वेस्टर्न चेंबर और वेस्टर्न वॉल में है. रीयूज ऑफ पिलर्स एंड पिलारेस्टर्स ऑफ प्री एग्जिस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर इन एग्जिस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर, मतलब ऐसा ये कह रहा है कि जो पहले का स्ट्रक्चर था एक हिंदू मंदिर का, उसी के पिलर्स को रीयूज यहाँ पे किया गया है, दोबारा इस्तेमाल किया गया।
एएसआई ने माना है कि वहाँ पर हिंदू स्ट्रक्चर है,
एक प्री एग्जिस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर है। एएसआई ने जो शब्द यूज किया है वो कहा है प्री एग्जिस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर है, उसके ऊपर ही उसी के खंभों को यहाँ पे इस्तेमाल किया गया।
ढांचा है, उसी के ऊपर बहुत सारी चीजें बनाई
यस,
हैं।
इंस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ द एग्जिस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर, फिर अरेबिक एंड पर्शियन इंस्क्रिप्शन ऑन द लूज स्टोन, फिर स्कल्पचर रिमेन्स इन दी सेलार्स एक्सेट्रा। इट कैन बी सेड दैट, अब ये एएसआई का जो कंक्लूजन है मैं वो आपको पढ़ के सुना रहा हूँ। इट कैन बी सेड दैट देयर एग्जिस्टेड अ लार्ज हिंदू टेम्पल प्रायर टू द कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ एग्जिस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर। मतलब एएसआई ये कह रहा है कि ये कहा जा सकता है कि यहाँ पे एक बहुत बड़ा भव्य हिंदू मंदिर था प्रायर टू द कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ एग्जिस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर। मतलब इस मस्जिद से पहले यहाँ पे, इससे पहले यहाँ पे एक हिंदू मंदिर एग्जिस्ट करता था। ये एएसआई ने अपनी कंक्लूसिव फाइंडिंग दी है और ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण फाइंडिंग है। एएसआई का जो कंक्लूजन है मैं वो बता रहा हूँ। इट कैन बी सेड दैट, मतलब ये कहा जा सकता है दैट देयर एग्जिस्टेड अ लार्ज हिंदू टेम्पल प्रायर टू द कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ द एग्जिस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर। मतलब अभी जो स्ट्रक्चर है, इस स्ट्रक्चर के पहले एक यहाँ पे लार्ज हिंदू टेम्पल था। ये बात एएसआई कह रही है कि ये बात कही जा सकती है।
मेरे हिसाब से तो जो पिछले 2022 में कमीशन कार्रवाई हुई थी, जो कुछ उसमें मिला था वही इस बार भी है। उसमें उसमें ये सिर्फ फोटो थी, उसकी नाप साइज ये सब नहीं था लिखा हुआ। इन्होंने एएसआई ने उसको नाप करके पूरी रिपोर्ट दिया, हर चीज की, हर खंबे की, हर दीवार की, कितनी चौड़ी है, कितनी लंबी है, हर खंबे में कितना कोना बना है, इस तरह से उन्होंने रिपोर्ट दिया है। अगर कोई पत्थर मिले और लिखा रहे तो इससे ये कैसे मान जाए कि साहब ये मंदिर ही तोड़ करके बनाया गया। एएसआई को पत्थर कहाँ मिला सन 65 में? एएसआई पहले ये बताया कि उस सन 1965 में वो कहते हैं, तो 1965 में वो पत्थर उनको कहाँ मिला? तब तो एएसआई की कार्रवाई होती नहीं थी पहले, उनके पास कहाँ से आया वो पत्थर?
As per the report, the ASI has submitted a 39-page report and a copy of which have been given to the concerned parties as per the court orders. And as far as Muslim side is concerned, the Muslim side will go through the report, will study the report, and then after any stand or any statement can be given. And as far as this case is concerned, you all know that this case is already before the various courts, and we are confident that the final judgment will be as per the proofs that have been and that are being given by also by the Muslim side before the courts.
Now let me go across to my legal editor Ashok Bagadia. Ashok, the question is, if there is a temple, does it settle the deal?
No. The
No.
answer is a no.
Why?
Because here, what ASI has basically done is produced evidence. Evidence which is produced suggests that there existed a temple at the mosque site. Now, how did they come to this conclusion? There was a court order. The court says, you go and study, because this is a claim from the Hindu sides that there existed a temple. Fair enough. Now the ASI has done its survey, come to a conclusion that what we believe is that there possibly, not rather possibly, they have been rather very clear in their statement and in their report that there did exist a temple before a mosque came over it, and the mosque has been built by using the remains or using pillars of that pre-existing temple. Now, this settles the issue that whether there existed a temple before the construction of the mosque or not. That is settled. Now comes the larger question, which is the Places of Worship Act. Government of India in 1991 passed a law where they suggested that whatever is the status of religious places as on 15th August 1947, it shall remain frozen. It cannot be changed. That is the law. Now,
But Ashok, it's not a constitutional amendment which requires 2/3 in both the houses, because when we say constitutional amendment, people think it's a red line. Constitutional amendments are not like red line. Constitutional amendments are tough, one, because you need 3-line whip first. Secondly, you need to pass it in both the houses. BJP can muster 2/3 majority in Lok Sabha very easily. It becomes tough for BJP in Rajya Sabha. But constitutional amendment is a big thing. But the Places of Worship Act is not a constitutional amendment. Places of Worship Act was passed by a simple majority. The other parties could not respond to it because politically then the climate was not so much polarized, There was no so much left and right. There was also a radical center, a weak radical center, but it existed. But now people are saying that, okay, you have taken the decision, but what about historical wrongs? There have been so many historical wrongs. The argument is Pandora's box. But people are saying that these historical wrongs are something which interfere with the lived reality, like litigation in Gyanvapi or Ayodhya. People had to fight for it, or Mathura. Why? These three temples in North India are directly linked with the basic fabric of Hinduism.
Well, you're right, Kartikeya, when you say that it's a matter of religion and belief of the Hindus, that these places are sacred to the Hindus. But what are we trying to determine here? Are we trying to say that these places are not sacred? Nobody disputes that. What we have to determine is whether who owns that land, who has the title. Let me just complete. Who owns the land, who has the title? Now it's a historical reality that in the last 400-500 years, structures were demolished, new structures came up. Now 500 years later, how logical is it for people to go to the courts and say that this belongs to us?
But let me be the devil's advocate, and I think Parul Khera also joins us, because you see, the issue is any temple can be sacred with deity Pran Pratishtha, but there is some uniqueness to certain temples. Mathura is about Krishna Bhumi. And I'm being the devil's advocate here. Kashi is the tip of the spear of Shiva. I mean to say, it's part of cosmology. We are not Israel, a state based, created out of theology. These were lived places. Parul, one thing I would like you to come on straight away. A lot of people are saying that the Places of Religious Worship Act is not applicable when it comes to Gyanvapi matter. Is it the correct position?
Yes, Kartik, on 16th May 2023, Allahabad High Court had stated that this act does not apply to Kashi Vishwanath temple because it does not determine the religious character of the place. So we can't go by the Places of Worship Act here. So even District Court had said that same thing in their order in the following dates. So that's what we are also saying, that anyways, till 1993, we used to perform our Shringar Gauri Puja on a daily basis till 1993. And then, now we get a chance once a year now. And that was our original petition, was that, we get a right to worship in the premises wherein there is Shringar Gauri and other visible and invisible deities present in the complex.
But my question is very different. Why shouldn't there be a temple there? अगर वहाँ मंदिर को तोड़ के मस्जिद बनी है और in the Islamic rules are very clear, the temples are mosques themselves are not sacred unless and until they are directly related to Prophet or the history of Prophet. And even in Saudi Arabia, where you see a sort of a very theocratic version of Islam, they have destroyed so many things which were directly connected with the Prophet, because their interpretation of Islam is slightly different, and they have done it. These are historical records, but I'll come to it little later, because this is not about Islam, this is not about theology. It is about the fact that there was a temple. The temple is part of the religious cosmology of place called Bharatvarsh, and why should again there be a legal case for next 25 years? We'll come to it after we'll come to that topic after a short break.
हमारी नारी शक्ति को सशक्त करने से ही देश सशक्त होने वाला है।
हर महीने महिलाओं को 1500 रुपए प्रति माह दिलवाया जाएगा।
what Nitish Kumar did to provide cycle to girls, so they could safely, quickly move out of the house, go to school and quickly come back. Ching, 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 ching.
माँ अन्नपूर्णा तू ही, माँ अन्नपूर्णा है तू ही वीणा वादनी, हे शक्ति स्वरूपा जगदम्बा, हे नारी तू नारायणी.
News is now content. Just stream it. Download the world's first news OTT, News9 Plus, ahead of the curve.
Now let me play out a couple of reactions on it and then go back to Parul Khera on the issue of, if it is not applicable, the Act of 1991, why can't a temple exist there?
The temple had a big central chamber and at least one chamber to the north, south, east and west respectively. Remains of 3 chambers to the north, south and west still exist, but the remains of the chamber to the east and any further extension of it could not be ascertained physically, as the area is covered under a platform with stone flooring. मतलब ऐसा ये कह रहा है कि जो सेंट्रल चेंबर है उसके वहाँ पे एटलीस्ट एक चेंबर है उसके नॉर्थ में, साउथ में, ईस्ट में और वेस्ट में, और उसमें से जो रिमेन्स हैं 3 चेंबर्स के वो आज भी देखे जा सकते हैं नॉर्थ साइड में इस तथाकथित मस्जिद के, साउथ में और वेस्ट में, जो आज भी एग्जिस्ट करते हैं, पर जो बाकी रिमेन्स हैं वो इस समय नहीं असर्टेन हो पा रहे हैं क्योंकि वहाँ पे एक प्लेटफॉर्म स्टोन फ्लोरिंग की गई है.
वो सेंट्रल चेंबर हुआ जहाँ पे असर्टेन नहीं हो पा रहा.
जी, ये सेंट्रल चेंबर और मेन चेंबर की बात हो रही है.
सेंट्रल और मेन चेंबर में असर्टेन नहीं हो पा रहा, बाकी सब जगह पे असर्टेन हो पा रहा.
जी. मेन एंट्रेंस टू द सेंट्रल चेंबर ऑफ द टेम्पल वॉज फ्रॉम द वेस्ट which was blocked by stone masonry. This entrance was decorated with carvings of animals and birds and ornamental torana. The large arch gateway had another smaller entrance. Figure carved out of the small entrance has been chopped off. A small part of it is visible as most of it is covered with bricks and stones and mortars which were used for block the entrance. फिर इसके बाद वेस्टर्न चेंबर और वेस्टर्न वॉल के बारे में जो एसआई ने फाइंडिंग दी वो बता दो. ईस्टर्न हाफ ऑफ द वेस्टर्न चेंबर still exists, whereas the superstructure of the western half has been destroyed. This chamber was also connected with the north and south chambers through a corridor accessible from its north and south entrances respectively. Remains of this corridor in the northwest side came to light on removal of garbage and debris. The western wall of the existing structure is the remaining part of a pre-existing Hindu temple. ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण फाइंडिंग है एएसआई की. एएसआई ने कहा है कि जो पश्चिमी दीवार है इस तथाकथित मस्जिद की, ये पार्ट है एक प्री एग्जिस्टिंग हिंदू मंदिर का. मतलब एएसआई ये कह रहा है कि जो पश्चिमी दीवार है ये पश्चिमी दीवार एक हिंदू मंदिर का पार्ट है. दिस वॉल पश्चिमी दीवार, दिस वॉल मेड ऑफ स्टोन्स एंड डेकोरेटेड विद हॉरिजॉन्टल मोल्डिंग्स is formed by remaining part of western chamber, western projections of the central chamber and western walls of the 2 chambers on its north and south. Central chamber attached to the wall exists unchanged, whereas modifications have been made to both the side chambers. All these chambers had an opening in the all 4 directions. Decorated arch entrance of central, north and south chambers towards west have been blocked.
रिपोर्ट में हम लोग बता भी दिए थे मीडिया लोगों को आपके माध्यम से कि बड़ा स्पष्ट लिखा है कि मंदिर है और मंदिर के खंभे, पिलर, दीवार हैं, उस पर उन्होंने मस्जिद बनाया है. अब 3 दिन की छुट्टी है, 29 तारीख को कोर्ट खुलेगा. उसके बाद हम लोग सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जा कर के यह प्रयास करेंगे कि वो सील एरिया को, जिसको वजू खाना कहते हैं और वजू खाना में वो फब्बारा कहते हैं, वो सीलिंग है, उसकी जो है हम लोग सील एरिया के अंदर सुप्रीम कोर्ट आदेश से उसे सर्वे कराएंगे.
बहुत अच्छी बात है क्योंकि मंदिर है ही है और मंदिर था ही, इसलिए उसको साक्ष्य को जो सार्वजनिक किया है वो बहुत अच्छी बात है. सभी लोग जाने कि ये मंदिर है और मंदिर के साक्ष्य हैं और कोर्ट को भी अब ये सबूत मिल गए हैं, इसलिए कोर्ट को कोई अब संशय नहीं है. उसको स्पष्ट रूप से हिंदुओं के पक्ष में आदेश पारित कर दे, जिससे कि भगवान शिव की प्रतिमा को स्थापित करके और उनकी पूजा अर्चना शुरू करें हिंदू.
So Parul, going back to you, my question is, why can't the issues of Krishna Janambhoomi and Kashi Vishwanath be resolved amicably? You know, if they are directly related to the birthplace of Krishna, is the Purna avatar of Lord Vishnu. Now, Kashi in itself rests on the tip of Lord Shiva. Why can't it be given back? Kashi has no historical relevance for any religion except Hinduism.
That's true, but this question is more for the Muslim side. Why can't they, give this to us, the Hindus? Why can't they? They can offer their prayer, their namaz anywhere from any part of the land. Why just the Kashi Vishwanath complex or Krishna Janambhoomi? Because it has a very important significance with respect to our religion, and that's what we want. I mean, the Kashi Vishwanath shivling that has been found on the 16th May 2022, it's a Swayambhu Jyotirling. I mean, believe it's for a more significance for a Hindu than a Muslim. So that's what I ask is.
You were saying, Ashok, it's a matter of title. But didn't that question also got contested when it came to Ayodhya, Ashok? Lot of parties, I remember as a child, I was in school, in college, no, this is the title suite, you don't understand, it's not about faith. Ultimately, it boiled down to faith. Ultimately, if you read the judgment of the Supreme Court, it's saying it's about faith.
Well, Kartikeya, it's a pretty complex issue.
You can take your time.
Yeah. It's not as simple as they saying that now, considering that the remains of the temple have been found beneath the Gyanvapi Mosque, and the Muslim side should renounce their title over the Gyanvapi Mosque must be destroyed, and the existing temple complex should be expanded to include that area.
I'm using the word relocated.
How do you relocate it? You have to actually, once you want to relocate that mosque site, the mosque site, you can't relocate it with the land from there. You have to give them another piece of land somewhere else to build another mosque and offer their prayers there. Now, what happens to this pre-existing site, to this Gyanvapi Mosque? Definitely, it's going to be razed to the ground, and the temple complex will be expanded to include the boundaries that existed before 1676. That seems to be the idea.
Which is the original place.
We don't know. Before 1676, probably this area must have been even wider.
Oh, okay. You are saying that it could have been a bigger temple complex.
It could have been a bigger temple complex. At the moment, we are only discussing to include the areas of Gyanvapi Mosque. You never know. You do a little more digging and you'll probably even find artifacts much beyond the place where the scientific survey was conducted by ASI. Here, the biggest problem, as I said in the beginning, is the Places of Worship Act. There was a parliament passed law in 1991 which said that, look, there are temples, mosques, gurudwaras, churches, etc. which exist in this country. And this country is facing a unique problem where parties from different communities are coming to the courts and are saying that we need to get these places because we believe that they were a part of our religious institution some 400, 500 years back. Now, if this situation was not attended to at that point in time by the Places of Worship Act, it would have opened up a Pandora's box. Even today, what we are witnessing is opening of a Pandora box. At the moment, we are only focusing on Gyanvapi and Kashi. But I can tell you safely that in the times to come, there would be thousands of such petitions which could be filed all across the country. At that point in time, the Parliament in its wisdom said that let's do one thing. Let's choose the date of 1947, 15th August, the day India got independence, and we will freeze that whatever religious structure as it existed on the day when India got independence shall be frozen. There can be no change by any litigation, any court proceedings. That was the intention, and Parliament in its wisdom said that it will put an end to all.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just stopping the argument. We can go on. But Parul, there's another aspect to it. Indian state came into existence in 1947. Bharat एक नया देश है पर पुराना राष्ट्र है. It's a young country but an old nation. Parul. So my question is, we are a civilizational country. There is a ethos here. And ethos is much ancient. Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb is last 800 years. But it is an 8,000-year-old civilization if I start from Rakhi Gadi. Now there is a basic foundational ethos of this country which is called Bharat Varsh. If the civilizational wrongs are not corrected, then do you think that the wounds are not, wounds fester?
Kartik ji, what is, is more civilized than to go to through a legal route, and that's what we are doing. We are not protesting, we are not doing any dharna pradarshan, we are not destroying any structure. We are just going through the legal route, and we are asking for our right to pray. That's the underlying statement here. I mean, we are not even disgracing their gods. Like they're calling it a fountain. Can you believe it? It is a matter of faith for millions of people here in India and abroad also. Now we have seen during the Pran Pratishtha how it was a worldwide celebration. So to tell it, go to a civilization route or संविधान से जाओ या संवाद से जाओ, देखिए हल इसका तो एक ही तरीके से निकलेगा, वो कानून से निकलेगा, और हम कानून की प्रक्रिया फॉलो कर रहे हैं. जैसे जो कोर्ट का आदेश आता है, अभी आज भी आप देखिए जब ASI का रिपोर्ट आया उस पे भी ओवैसी जी ने किस तरीके का बयान दिया कि ASI तो हिंदुओं की दासी है. I mean, what kind of a language and thought process they have, and they didn't agree to the Ram Mandir judgment. They are not agreeing to the court's verdict. They are not agreeing to the ASI report. So how will we come to a conclusion? There must be something. You don't agree. You don't believe in our historical evidence. You don't believe in our dharmic evidence, our religious evidence. You don't believe the archaeological evidence. So what do we do? How do we say? How do we?
Parul, there is also another thing. You don't need to find historicity in everything. We'll talk about it after some time, after a short break, because there is something called evidence of memory. When the riots took place in 1984, the pogrom, the evidence is missing, but the memories are living. If contemporary memories can find legal notes, so can historical memories of injustice. After a short break.
Pakistani spy agency ISI's sinister plan to target India. Training women to honey trap top civil and military officials. Counter honey trapping ops initiated by India. But gullible victims still caught in the web. Top military intelligence experts break down the web of deception. Colonel Hani Bakshi explains the phenomena of honey trap.
जहाँ पे भी आपको लगेगा, उनको लगेगा कि there is a person who is susceptible to women, who's making a lot of women friends on the social media. That is where they will make a spoof account and then start luring the person.
Colonel Pavitran Rajan decodes the psyche of the victim and the predator.
But when you go up the chain, no one enforces it to people at the top. That disciplinary regime and the security regime is not enforced at the top. And they usually have a public profile where it is much more easier to approach that person.
A News9 special on how modern technology has added teeth to the ancient spying tactic.
Our story takes you inside Pakistan's honey trap machine.
This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
Currently, the industry is facing a lot of challenges as far as demand is concerned. Basically, that US markets has slowed down. because of high inflation.
So obviously, diamonds being a dream product, something which doesn't have a utility value or is seen as a luxury. So that obviously goes off your shopping list. That's the first item that will go off your shopping list, especially in recessionary trends.
That lab-grown diamonds are not mined, and they do away with the entire mining. So they save up on all the environmental damage that is associated with mining, and of course, the mining cost, which is why they're even more affordable.
People that is impacted by all these recessions are the artisans, are the people who work in this industry, right? But I think lab-grown diamond has allowed them to actually use their skills in the same product.
This and more streaming on world's first news OTT, News9 Plus. Download now.
So we are in the last leg of our debate, and the debate is, why is the Act of 1991 so sacred? When it is a simple act of parliament, why is it so sacred? We'll come to that debate, but before that, let me play out all the bites, all the reactions that have come on this story.
Pillars पे जो ASI की finding मैं वो बता रहा हूँ. The pillars and plasters used in the existing structure were studied systematically and scientifically for the enlargement of the mosque and constructing sahan. Parts of pre-existing temple, including pillars and pilasters, were reused with little modifications. मतलब ऐसा ये कह रहा है कि जो इसमें खंबे लगे हुए हैं वो खंबे हिंदू मंदिर के थे और उसी को रीयूज किया गया. माइन्यूट नहीं, ये खंबे की बात हो रही है. पश्चिमी दीवार की फाइंडिंग खत्म हो गई है. अब जो मंदिर की थी, पश्चिमी दीवार की फाइंडिंग खत्म हो गई है. अब जो नेक्स्ट फाइंडिंग है खंबे की फाइंडिंग है. जो पिलर्स, जो खंबे मिले हैं वहाँ पे व्यास जी के तहखाने में, और जो जितने तहखाने वहाँ पे जितने खंबे मिले हैं, उस खंबे पे एसआई की क्या फाइंडिंग मैं वो बता रहा हूँ और दोबारा पढ़ के सुना रहा हूँ. द पिलर्स एंड पिलास्टर्स यूज्ड इन द एग्जिस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर वर स्टडीड सिस्टमैटिकली एंड साइंटिफिकली for the enlargement of the mosque and constructing sahan. Parts of pre-existing temple, including pillars and pilasters, were reused with little modification. मतलब जो हिंदू मंदिर के खंबे थे उनको दोबारा इस्तेमाल किया गया कुछ मॉडिफिकेशन करके. Minute study of pillars and pilasters in corridors suggest that they were originally part of pre-existing Hindu temple. For their reuse in the existing structure, Vyala figures carved on either side of lotus medallion were mutilated, and after removing the stone mass from the corners, that space was decorated with floral design. This observation is supported by two similar plasters still existing on the north and southern wall of the western chamber in their original place. मतलब ऐसा ये कह रहा है कि उन पिलर्स में जो क्राविंग्स थी उसको भी डिस्ट्रॉय किया गया है और उसी को एक हिंदू मंदिर के जो खंबे थे उसको दोबारा रीयूज किया गया है. अब इसके बाद आगे की फाइंडिंग पे आ रहे हैं. एएसआई ने जो फाइंडिंग दी है इंस्क्रिप्शन पे, एक वहां पे इंस्क्रिप्शन मिला था, उस पे एएसआई की जो फाइंडिंग है वो बता रहा हूँ. ड्यूरिंग द सर्वे a number of inscriptions were noticed on the existing and pre-existing structure. A total of 34 inscriptions were recorded during the present survey and 32 stampages were taken. These are in fact inscriptions on the stone of pre-existing Hindu temple which have been reused during the construction repair of the existing structure. मतलब ऐसा ये कह रहा है कि वहाँ पे जो इंस्क्रिप्शंस मिले हैं उसमें से 32 ऐसी जगहें हैं और टोटल 34 ऐसे इंस्क्रिप्शन हैं जो प्री एग्जिस्टिंग हिंदू टेम्पल के थे. दे इंक्लूड इंस्क्रिप्शंस इन दी देवनागरी, ग्रंथा, तेलुगु एंड कन्नड़ स्क्रिप्ट्स. रीयूज ऑफ अर्लियर इंस्क्रिप्शंस इन द स्ट्रक्चर सजेस्ट दैट द अर्लियर स्ट्रक्चर वर डिस्ट्रॉयड and their parts were reused in the construction repair of the existing structure. मतलब जो पहले हिंदू मंदिर था उसी के इंस्क्रिप्शंस को यूज करके इस्तेमाल करके ये तथाकथित मस्जिद बना.
Now let me go across to Harishankar Jain, someone who was associated with the main case in Ayodhya, someone who is associated with most of the cases here. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
So my question is, now the evidence is there, the praman is there that the temple exists. shouldn't it be handed back to the Hindu Paksh? What's the way out?
The matter is in court. We have filed suit for Darshan Puja as well as suit claiming title over the entire property on behalf of deity. Number two, the court is all the powers to decree the suit. Now, after the evidence has come before the court, this very clinching evidence that there was a temple which was demolished, so therefore the religious character of the building is of a Hindu temple. There is no impediment in the court in passing the order, and I think that ultimately suit will be decreed. But at the same time, I request to the government to bring a legislation on the point or issue an ordinance declaring it a place of national importance, because Lord Shiva, lakhs of years ago, had established this place, the area at Kashi, and that is Abhimukht area, and it should be declared as a national important place and should be given to Hindus for construction of mosque, for construction of a temple. This should be done by the government, because government is the representative of the will of the people, and will of the people is that the temple should be constructed, and there is sufficient evidence to prove that actually there was a temple. We are not demanding anything. We are not demanding anything which belongs to them. We want to get our own thing, and this was wrongly occupied, illegally occupied by Muslims, and they are encroachers of the property. They are acting like Bahubalis, mafias, because they say they threat that if you talk of this or want to take it back, there will be a lot of chaos and disorder. This type of threat we are not going to accept, and we'll face the threat, and we have the courage to face the threat and to get it back. And not only Kashi, Mathura, and all other temples which were ever demolished by Muslims and mosques were constructed, we are ready to take it back, and we are forwarding toward that, and we are working for that. Our cases are pending and will be filed. Few cases will be filed very soon on that case. Yes.
There is a debate in the country. The Places of Worship Act 1991.
Yes.
It does not address the historical wrongs, civilizational issues. Do you think that that act should be abrogated?
Kindly go on through the act. There is no question of to read the act in that direction. Historical wrong is something, but offences committed during the past. Second thing, inhuman action, barbarian acts, and action which goes to the root of the matter, which infringes fundamental rights of the citizens. That category is not covered by Place of Worship Act. And you can't say the question of historical wrong is not wrong. It is historical injustice, persecution of Hindus. And after independence, we are entitled to take it back. That private, it says religious character shall be maintained. So religious character, we are entitled to prove that, see, religious character of the building in question is of a Hindu temple. It is not a mosque at all.
Okay.
Once it is proved that there was a temple and that was demolished, then this structure has been constructed. Then every law is in my favor. In Supreme Court, in a Shuddha case, has clearly ruled that that idol never dies. Idol is never finished. The existence of idol is always there. And even temple is demolished, but temple continues forever. And whenever you get the chance, you can restore it.
So my question, Mr. Jain, my question is very simple. You know, one is historical injustice, there is a civilizational injustice, but there is a broader question here. The broader question is, do you think that if there is a consensus on Kashi and Mathura, other issues can be settled?
No, not at all. No question of settlement. Every temple is important. Not only Kashi Mathura. At one place there is a temple. That is important for that area. And it has own background for that. It has own history for that. How you can forget that? It's not only Kashi Mathura. What you say if temples are demanding Karnataka? Why the people of Karnataka suffer? Why that Bhoshala in Madhya Pradesh? Number of temples are demolished in Karnataka, Kerala, in Tamil Nadu. We have to take it back. It is not the Kashi Mathura, you return and we leave you. We will not claim. No question. And I assure you one thing, we are working to take all the temples back. We are proceeding further ahead, and about 16 cases have been prepared, and that should be filed very soon.
Okay.
And there is no any compromise.
So then,
kindly do not.
So then the related is, what is your progress on the Mathura case?
Mathura case is very prominent, and we are going ahead. Matter is in the Honorable High Court, and Honorable High Court has passed an order appointing Advocate Commissioner. The matter has come to the Supreme Court, and the one thing they have raised the question of that place of worship act. So now on Monday, the matter will be heard whether the application regarding maintainability of the suit should be decided first, or the application regarding the appointment of commission. There also, they are opposing the appointment of commission because they know as soon as commission is executed and report comes, what their lies and their all fraud, injustice and barbaric acts will come out. And everybody know that this temple, there was a temple which was demolished under the orders of Aurangzeb in 1669. And one thing more, the original birthplace of Lord Krishna, that is the Karagar, is beneath the so-called mosque. And if any excavation takes place, survey takes place, we will prove it that there is still Karagar, that is still there, and we have to take it back. And we are marching for that. We are going ahead, and we will take Mathura back. And Mathura, Kashi, Bhoshala, Taj Mahal, Qutub Minar, Tile Wali Masjid, and a number of temples we are fighting, and we are go on fighting.
Okay.
In Bengal also there are number of temples which are very glaring and saying that we have been demolished, and the Muslims are using it.
Okay.
And
wait a minute. I'll just take a minute because Parul is also with us. Parul, tell me, after all this thing is done, do you think at least the worship at the Sringar Gauri, the backside of the complex, can be allowed?
Western Hall.
Can that be allowed?
See, that's what our ask is, and that's what we are hoping for. Till 93, as I earlier mentioned, we used to perform puja daily there, and now it is happening only once a year. And not just the Sringar Gauri puja we are demanding now, we are saying that we should get, a right to pray the whatever visible, invisible deities are there inside the premise, inside the Gyanvapi complex. We should get a right to pray there.
Mr. Jain, people should get a right to pray there. But then there is also a question. My colleague earlier, Ashok Bagadia, was saying that if this goes on, there are 1,000 temples that can be reclaimed. How do you then resolve the issue? There are thousands of temples in this country.
Why should not be reclaimed? I put a question otherwise. Why should not be reclaimed? You have committed sin in the past, and our ethos, our culture, that has been trampled. Why we should not take it back? What right you have got? And why to continue? It is a continuous wrong. It is not the wrong which has been committed. It is continuous wrong. If I say that punish those persons who are occupying it, that is one thing. But if I say simple thing, I can say that punish those persons for this. I am only saying that kindly give it back. Kindly return it to the Hindus. And 1,000, maybe 2,000 maybe, but all the temples we have to take back. And the other thing is, the people put a question to me, what will happen to in the society? So we are living in a constitutional setup. We are living in the era of rule of law. This is the thing, that you file a case and you want to get justice, then there will be a lot of things will come, and there will threat that you can't do it because there will be a chaos and disorder, and the Muslims will be very angry, and they can commit anything. We are not afraid of Muslims, and nobody should be afraid of Muslims.
So no one is afraid of Muslims, I would say. And
yes, that is the thing.
But then, sir,
those who say,
Mr. Zain,
those who oppose,
Mr.
they are afraid of Muslims.
But then there is another argument. The people who are present today, Muslims, they are not the one to answer for what Aurangzeb did. They didn't do it.
I'm not asking them. I'm not asking them. But don't support also. If I say to punish you, that is exactly I said. If I say punish you because you're enjoying Aurangzeb loot khasot, then say no, I'm not responsible. Don't enjoy it. Return it back. Your question is to get it back. And we should not be afraid of Muslims. And actually, I think that everybody think that there is chaos and disorder, and Muslims become angry, and they will be right. Why? If court passes an order, court gives a decree, and our claim is found correct, then for this purpose, the Muslims will become angry. They will create chaos. They will create disorder. They will commit riot. We will deny justice. This can't be constitutional setup. It can't be suit to rule of
law. So basically, Mr. Jain, you are saying that this is not going to end here. There will be litigations beyond Kashi and Mathura. I would like to thank you, say thank you to you. I'm really running short of time, and I'm also going to say thank you to you, Parul, for coming to our show. To have a sort of a layered conversation on the issue of what's going to happen in Kashi and what will happen in Mathura. But it's a contested issue. My point is that if historical wrongs are there, and if there are certain places which are directly linked with the Hindu memories, then they should be returned back to the community for a simple reason, because there is a lived link with that. If the other places of worship have no meaning with the people who have created that religious thought, I think that sort of a transaction can take place between community, because I think that's going to foster at least more harmony. But before I end my show, I leave you with a couple of reactions on the issue of temple that exists beneath Gyanvapi Mosque.
बहुत से साक्ष्य मिले हैं, हम लोग को बहुत खुशी भी है कि अब साबित हो गया है कि हमारा मंदिर है। औरंगजेब का टूटा हुआ शिलापट भी मिल गया है, जो फरमान किए थे कि इसको मंदिर को तोड़ के मस्जिद बनाया जाए, वो भी एक साक्ष्य मिल गया है। आगे हम लोग का ये है कि जो बाबा मिले हैं, वो चुकाना जो जहाँ बाबा मिले, अब उसका ऐसा ही सर्वे करवाना है।
वो समझ लीजिए एक मस्जिद जो करके वो लोग बैठे हैं, एक जो गुम्बद वहाँ पे सिर्फ बना जो हमारे गुलामी का प्रतीक है, वो गुम्बद सिर्फ ऊपर बना हुआ है, वो गुलामी का प्रतीक है। वो हम लोग साबित करने में आज कहीं न कहीं थोड़ा जो है सही हो पाए हैं, ये सत्य सामने ला पाए हैं कि हाँ वो मंदिर था और मंदिर ही रहेगा। आगे वजू का भी हम लोग करवाएंगे, वजू खाने का, ताकि बाबा जी भी वहाँ से आजाद हो सके, नंदी जी की भी प्रतीक्षा पूरी हो सके।
फोन करा करे हो इज्जत हजम नहीं
समाप्ति तक सभी के सेवक अपने अपने स्थान पर बैठे रहे। धन्यवाद। सब खड़े रहे। Right.